Getting good sleep shouldn't be complicated. The Pod 5 Ultra from our sponsor 8 Sleep makes it effortless. The Pod 5 Ultra fits right over your existing mattress. It'll automatically adjust temperature throughout the night so you're comfortable from bedtime to morning. Each side of the bed can be personalized, so no arguing over the thermostat. It even has built-in sensors that'll track how you're sleeping. If you're snoring, it'll slightly raise you up to stop the snoring. You can try it for 30 days risk-free. You'll get up to $700 off when you go to 8sleep.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. That link is in the description. It truly pains me to say we've predicted this, but Trump's people just all but admitted they're going to doctor the Epstein files. They're going to hold back the Epstein files, ongoing investigation, blah, blah, blah. And Republicans are already floating the idea of constructing, that's their word, their own Epstein list from scratch. This is exactly the set of excuses we said they would use, and they're going to try to do it. Meanwhile, as Trump tries to prepare for the potential impact of the story, he has lost control of his own party. MAGA lawmakers are ignoring him. Survivors are speaking out. Marjorie Taylor Greene is accusing him of ripping the movement apart. This is the first real break in MAGA, and it's happening over the topic that Trump can't escape. And then the new polls hit, and they're devastating. Democrats have opened their biggest lead in 8 years. Independents are turning on Republicans by 30 plus points. Trump's approval is sinking. This is the collapse he's been terrified of since coming back into office. We've also, by the way, got an update where we have now raised almost $15,000 thanks to you donated to Feeding America. We're doing what we can to get food to hungry people. Every new membership at joinpakman.com and on my Substack, the full first payment, be it monthly or yearly, will be donated to Feeding America. Over $14,400 so far. That's 144,000 meals. Incredible numbers. Read about it at davidpakman.com/fundraiser. What a show today. Well, my friends, they are going to doctor or withhold the Epstein files. They're not just going to give us the files. They're desperate, and someone might be able to save Trump. That person is Attorney General Pam Bondi. It might include Kash Patel. And I hate that it was so predictable. I hate that we know these people so well that we know they've got something up their sleeves. And Pam Bondi spoke at the Department of Justice, flanked by FBI Director Kash Patel, and she gives away the game. First red flag, she's a little cagey. She's just, not exactly forthcoming with information. And she refuses to answer multiple questions about what are the next steps for releasing the files. Exactly. Remember, the DOJ has 30 days to do it. They might do it quickly. They might not. Trump doesn't even need this process. Trump could just say, give me the files. I'm releasing the files. What are they going to do? Well, Pam Bondi is being a little bit cagey.
Gotcha.
On the Epstein files, does the new investigation by the Southern District of New York U.S. Attorney prevent the department from releasing all of the remaining files?
So we have released over 33,000 Epstein documents to the Hill, and we'll continue to follow the law and to have maximum transparency. Also, we will always...
They're going to continue maximum transparency? There hasn't been any transparency that they started.
Encourage all victims to come forward.
What are the next steps, Madam Attorney General, for the DOJ regarding what we assume President Trump will sign into law with the Epstein files? Is this going to be on the Justice Department website? What are you doing here over the next 30 days as we understand it?
We will continue to follow the law with maximum transparency while protecting victims.
Glitch.
Yeah. When you say follow the law, Madam Attorney General, do you mean that you will provide all the files by 30 days?
We will follow the law. The law passed both chambers last evening. It has not yet been signed, but we will continue to follow the law.
All right. You get it. They're going to follow the law, which they haven't been doing, and they're going to continue maximum transparency, which they haven't been providing. So now we're like, okay, now from a 1 to 10, my concern level has risen to a 3. this is if it were at zero at the beginning of this press conference, which of course it wasn't, but theoretically based on what she says. Cool. Next question to Pam Bondi. The prior releases said no additional investigation is warranted. This is a great question to ask now because we are suspecting they will say, oh, there are ongoing investigations, so we can't release the files. She already told us previously, no more arrests are coming. The whole thing is closed. She's asked what changed, and she says, well, we have new information. That's a new claim.
General, the DOJ statement earlier this year saying that the files would not release mentioned the fact that the review of the documents and the evidence did not suggest that any additional investigation of third parties was warranted. What changed since then that you launched this investigation?
Information that has come for information. There's information that new information, additional information, and again, we will continue to follow the law, to investigate any leads. If there are any victims, we encourage all victims to come forward, and we will continue to provide maximum transparency under the law.
So now my concern is at a 6. It's gone from 0 to 3 to 6. We were previously told this is done. The investigation is done. There will be no more indictments. There will be no more prosecutions. We've got all the files. We've reviewed everything. It's done. We now got, thanks to the Oversight Committee, some additional emails. We got them. This is all part of what the DOJ has had for a long time. It's not new information for them. All of a sudden now, Pam Bondi says, well, releasing the files, I don't know about that because we got new information now. And now investigations are ongoing. But wait a second, you didn't get anything new. New stuff was made public. It was new to us, but not to you. That doesn't really make sense. And then we blow the lid off of it. And this is the key line. She says, we now have a pending investigation. You do? What?
The issue with the new information that you just indicated, is the department seeking information perhaps from the Epstein estate because Mr. Blanche did not have that information when he interviewed Ghislaine Maxwell? What new information, and would you limit the new investigation to just those named persons that the president talked about, or is this a broad, open-ended investigation?
I would refer to the Deputy Attorney General's post that he put out on X, and we will
check out his nasty excretion on X.
We're not going to say anything else on that because now it is a pending investigation in the Southern District of New York.
And there it is. That is the key line. We now have a pending investigation in the Southern District of New York. I don't want to pat myself on the back because it was so obvious. I wasn't the only one who suspected they were going to come up with something like this. They are never going to stop coming up with ways to prevent the full and robust release of these files. Congressman Jim McGovern knows it. He posted, quote, "This is the exact excuse Trump and his cronies at the DOJ will use to justify any potential refusal to comply with the Epstein Files Transparency Act. Release all the files now. The American people will not stand for anything less than complete transparency." It was also predictable 48 hours ago. The prediction was reinforced 24 hours ago, and now they're doing it. Will we ever get the full Epstein files from this administration? I think the answer is probably not. Will the full Epstein files ultimately come out because they will be leaked, released by a future administration? That is where I would sort of be putting that's the basket I would be putting my eggs in at this point in time. In the midst of the Epstein fiasco, Donald Trump is losing control of Republicans, losing control of everything, quite frankly. And this is one of the worst nightmares that an egomaniacal, self-centered narcissist like Trump, thirsty for power, would be terrified of. Let me explain what's going on. Trump's losing control of his party, and it's happening in one of the funniest, messiest, kind of most predictable ways possible. It is catalyzed by the Epstein files. This is something Trump's been terrified of probably since the 90s. And here's what happened. Tina Brown, the British journalist, had a great piece I'm drawing from here on her Substack called Why Trump Doesn't Stand a Chance of Killing the Epstein Story. I encourage you to check out her piece. And I believe that this really explains why Donald Trump suddenly started saying, oh yeah, release the files earlier this week. What Tina Brown writes is that Trump personally tried to stop MAGA lawmakers from voting to release the full Epstein documents. He begged them. He leaned on them. He basically said, don't do it. He went to Lauren Boebert, and they essentially said, no, thanks. They ignored him. They realized their political futures are hindered by doing what Trump wants in this particular case. And when Trump came to realize, I'm going to lose on this, they're going to vote to release the files, he does his gymnastics routine. When you see Trump, you don't look at him and go, this guy can do gymnastics, but he can do them mentally. And suddenly he's for the release of the files. Of course I support it. Release them. Vote on it. Sure, totally. Nothing. Why wouldn't I want that? And of course, it doesn't exactly project strength to say, do the thing I spent months saying don't do because I was destined to lose. And the thing that Tina Brown hammers home in her article is that Trump never had a shot. She argues Trump was always going to lose this. First, because this whole pedophilia is a core MAGA adjutant idea, as she puts it. They live on this crap. They mainline it. You tell the MAGA base, hey, don't obsess over the Epstein documents. Good luck, because they're obsessed. Number two, footage, photos, videos, Trump and Epstein together over and over and over. The Christmas card, the notes, the emails referencing Trump. What can you do? It's all out there. That infamous video of Trump and Epstein together, sort of evaluating young women. And Tina Brown says that these videos look more and more like the Zapruder film every day. And she's right. People freeze frame it like they're looking at a ballistics trajectory. Who were Trump and Epstein looking at together? It's a loop that Trump can't kill. And then as Trump is flailing, the slime is splashing everywhere. So you've got Michael Wolff, the guy who's built a career, really telling us how dark and twisted Trump world is. Turns out he was also emailing Epstein. And he now has started to be the subject of, call them, more aggressive questions. There's Larry Summers emailing Epstein about raising $1 million for his wife's project. You've got Sarah Ferguson doing the entire I abhor pedophilia speech in public, and then sending Jeffrey Epstein a groveling apology in private. So the leaks are endless, and every name that keeps popping up is embarrassing to someone, and it makes the problem worse. Now, in the middle of all this, what about the survivors? Which I have said from the beginning, have been mostly ignored. They've been a very small part of this. Some of them have started to talk, and what they describe is horrifying. What Epstein allegedly did to them is horrifying. The dynamic that's described between Epstein and Ghislaine Maxwell, the humiliation, the jealousy. It's impossible to sanitize this thing. And that gets us to the kicker. Members of Congress, bipartisan, held a press conference with the survivors. Ro Khanna, Thomas Massie, Marjorie Taylor Greene. We saw it on Monday, Tuesday. When Marjorie Taylor Greene is standing there supporting a story you want buried, it's not loyalty, it's your base is leaving because she's not afraid anymore. For Marjorie Taylor Greene to do what she did, she has to stop believing Trump can punish me. There's going to be a test of that. Marjorie Taylor Greene's reelection campaign next year will be a test. Can a former MAGA Republican in a MAGA district still win after Trump says, don't vote for her, I would support a primary challenge? And if she can win, this starts to become the beginning of the end. Because the whole Trump thing only works if everybody believes that he has the power to ruin them. Marjorie Taylor Greene, at least potentially, believes he does not have the power to ruin her. This is how demagogues lose control. Not in an explosive, dramatic moment where like the palace burns down and the doors blow open. It's people start saying no and nothing happens to them. And they go, wow, I said no and I was fine. What happened to Liz Cheney doesn't happen to them. And then they go, I guess I can do it. And so that's where Trump is right now. The base wants the Epstein story. The party wants the Epstein story. The cameras want it. Survivors are speaking. The leaks are just flowing. Trump tried to kill it. Republicans ignored him. And now he's pretending, no, of course I want the files out. He is losing control of his own people, and he knows it. And if there is an even worse sign for Trump, it's the new polling data. Get a load of this. Trump finally got the one number he never wanted to see, and it's devastating. We talked about this on the bonus show a little bit yesterday. There is a brand new PBS NPR Marist poll, and it shows Democrats having their biggest lead for the upcoming midterms next year in 8 years. Not a few points, not within the margin of error. Democrats are plus 14, 55-41. That, if it holds, is a brutalization. Among independents, it's even worse for Republicans. Among independents, 61% say they will support Democrats and 28% say they will support Republicans. That is a 33-point gap among independent voters. And where it really starts to sting Trump is that this is the same margin Democrats had 8 years ago in 2017, which turned into the 2018 blue wave, where 40 House seats were flipped while Trump sat in the Oval Office, throwing ketchup at the wall. And we're right back in that territory, except Trump is even less popular right now than he was then. Trump's approval is down to 39 approve, 56 disapprove. That's a minus 17 net approval. That's down 5 points in the last 2.5 months. And that's before you factor in the other humiliation, which is that Trump's own DOJ is saying the Comey grand jury never even saw the final indictment. This was the revenge fantasy Trump was holding out hope for, and the revenge fantasy that he's been promising his base, and it's falling apart. Now, here's the reason that Republicans should really be terrified. Americans now see the Republican Party as the close-minded party. 60% of voters say Republicans shut down conversation rather than open it. Republicans have argued for a long time now, we are the party of conversations and debate and free speech and all of it. And now the country doesn't believe it. This is not how you win voters. Meanwhile, Trump is flailing and Democrats are piling up wins. Democrats got 2 governors elected by larger margins than Democrats have been previously elected, Virginia and New Jersey. We saw the New York City mayoral win. We saw California voters approve Gavin Newsom's Prop 50. Even Steve Bannon said on Election Day previous Tuesday, the midterms start tonight and the warning signs are flashing. This matters for Trump's entire presidency. Look at the past data. 2010, Obama's Democrats lose 62 House seats. 94, Clinton's Democrats lose 54 seats. 1874, we can go that far back if you want. Ulysses, or as Trump calls him, Ulysses S. Grant's party loses 92 seats. When these waves hit, they hit very, very hard, and they can bulldoze a party. And that's what Trump is facing. If Republicans lose the House, especially if they lose by a margin the likes of which it's looking, Trump loses control of the agenda. He loses the ability to pass any legislation. He can't define the political narrative. And importantly, Republicans will go, we don't even have a majority for Trump's last 2 years. Why are we sticking with him? It will break Trump. And then the oversight hearings will start and the subpoenas and the investigations. And it'll signal to Republicans, you're going to lose if you stick with this guy. It's a historical pattern that we've seen. Presidents who lose the House in a wave don't recover. Their second term is a holding pattern. It's dead. There's no mandate. So just imagine, this is our North Star. Dems win big in 26. Independents turn hard against the Republicans. Approval keeps sliding for Trump. And Trump's revenge tour, which he is planning. Trump, there's new reporting we'll talk about tomorrow. Trump wants revenge for Epstein stuff. He wants revenge for what's going on. He won't be able to do it. It will be the collapse that Trump feared. We have to make it happen. You know how hard it can be to get consistent, really good sleep, especially when you're too hot one night and then you're too cold the next. The Pod 5 from our sponsor 8 Sleep solves that problem. The Pod 5 Ultra is a smart cover. It fits right over your mattress, keeps each side of the bed at the temperature that is ideal for each person. If you or your partner have different preferred temperatures, you can set them. It'll also track your sleep and recovery patterns so you can see how well rested am I really. You don't have to wear a watch or a ring. And the Pod 5 Ultra will even detect snoring and make slight adjustments to the bed position to help you breathe. It's like upgrading from a regular bed to a personalized sleep system that learns what helps you rest best. You can try it for 30 days risk-free, and you'll get up to $700 off when you go to 8sleep.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. The link is in the description. Nausea is one of those things that can derail your day. Could be on a plane, could be in a car. For me, it was on a boat not that long ago. Could even be from anxiety or migraines. Our sponsor, Relief Band, makes a wearable, FDA-cleared wristband designed to help relieve and prevent nausea. With no drugs or drowsiness, it uses transdermal neuromodulation or acustimulation. It's a gentle pulse to the part of the nervous system involved in regulating nausea. There's really good published research indicating Relief Band can help with motion sickness, pregnancy-related nausea, chemo-related nausea. Some studies suggest it can reduce post-surgery nausea when used with prescribed medication. And Relief Band's new Premier Plus model adds a digital clock and smart skin sensing to preserve battery life, and it lets you adjust intensity based on how you feel. If nausea is something you deal with, it could be worth seeing if Relief Band can help. It is drug-free, non-drowsy, no side effects. If you've been waiting to try Relief Band, this is the time. Right now through the end of November, you'll get up to 30% off site-wide. It also makes an awesome holiday gift, and Relief Band is FSA and HSA eligible. So it is a great way to use those end-of-year dollars. Get up to 30% off site-wide at reliefband.com. The link is in the description. The David Pakman Show continues to be an audience-supported program, and we are doing something this month for others. We are redonating, or donating, I guess you would say, the first membership payment and Substack premium subscription payments to Feeding America. This is an organization that works on hunger. This is a time where, as we get closer to Thanksgiving, as we are starting to recover from the food stamp fiasco during the government shutdown, we want to try to do something on that issue. And so far, you together have raised over $14,000 with 342 new memberships. This funds 144,000 meals, which is crazy. You can get all of the details and read about how to participate at davidpakman.com/fundraiser. But the long and short of it is you sign up for a monthly membership this month, we'll donate that first payment to Feeding America. You sign up for a yearly membership, we'll donate the yearly payment to the Feeding America charity. You sign up on Substack, we're going to do the exact same thing. So check it out, and you can sign up at joinpakman.com. We are now seeing the games that they are going to play about the Epstein files. We started to probe and hypothesize yesterday about the direction that this might go. And now we are starting to see it hook, line, and sinker. They aren't just going to give us the files. They're not going to do it. And we're going to put together the pieces as we look here to try to figure out what is it they are going to try to do. Now, here is Congressman James Comer, a Republican, who starts with, there might not be an Epstein list. What? Didn't everybody just vote? And there is a lot of heavy lifting being done by the word list here. He's playing semantic games, but what he's doing is very dangerous. Take a listen.
If there's no Epstein list and we want to find out if there were people that were violating the law and who they were, we'll have to construct our own. If there's not an Epstein list floating around in the Department of Justice, maybe following the money, we can construct.
Well, it's interesting. The mainstream media was going wall to wall with Epstein while you all were reopening government. I was watching, the vote. You're all over there voting to reopen government, and it's wall to wall Epstein on CNN because some files were released. We'll see if they keep that up. Now that it's sort of brought.
James Comer goes, we might have to construct the Epstein list from the evidence, of course, but it might just be like, hey, we're the Republicans and we're going to make the list and then give it to you and everybody will accept that this is the list. Another segment that really shows us the direction they're going, and then I'm going to give you kind of my deeper thoughts on this. Bartiromo asks, are we going to see the client list? And Comer goes, I don't think there's a list. At this stage of the game, it's almost December. I don't think there's a list.
Records. We'll do like we did in the Biden investigation. We'll be able to follow the money. We'll be able to identify different LLCs and different corporations to see where.
Now, I'm so sorry to interrupt already. He goes, we're going to do it like we did it in the Biden investigation. Well, then it's not going to work. The Biden investigation was one of the most humiliating and disastrous dead-end fiascos where they brought in people like, I'm trying to remember all of the various characters. Obviously, there was the blind computer repairman, but there was Tony Bobolinsky. There were a handful of supposed blockbuster witnesses that were going to just blow the roof off of the entire thing. And we ultimately know what happened. So when I hear him say we're going to do this like the Biden probe, you know it's not going to be good.
This money was coming from and where it was going.
Are we going to see the client list?
I don't think there's an actual Epstein list, but if we're able to follow the money, maybe we can construct a list.
I see.
All right. Maria Bartiromo, I gotcha. Gotcha, James. So they are preparing to manufacture an Epstein list from scratch. It won't be done through discovery. It won't be done through investigation. It will be narrative construction. And he says we will have to construct our own. Those are his words. Now, there is some technical sense where there's a benign technical sense to what he might be saying where we would say, okay, that's not so bad. And it would be this. It's very misleading. Imagine that I give you 100 pieces of paper. Each one is an email from an Epstein client. In a technical sense, that's not a list. It's 100 documents. And if I go through them one by one and I go, okay, Joe Schmo is in document number 1 and I write it down. Now it's Joe Schmay and his number 2. I'm constructing a list and it's not literally a list that I've been handed. It's just a stack of communications. That's like the most benign technical explanation of all of this. But we already know that we are way beyond that based on everything we've seen so far. And when he says we might have to construct this, we should be very, very afraid. One more clip here where, as always, Maria Bartiromo tries to wrap this into the Mar-a-Lago raid and the January 6th riots and Russia collusion. And is this all part of the same hoax? I don't even know what she means by this question, but let's see if we can figure it out.
All of this is part of an overall fabric that I think the DOJ is trying to put together of conspiracy, beginning with Russia collusion, going into the impeachments, going into the Hunter Biden laptop, the Mar-a-Lago raid. Is January 6th part of that? Were they using January 6th to blow up this whole idea that Trump was an insurrectionist as a way to shut down speech and shut down any questions about the 2020 election?
Right. January 6th was a terrible day, but what we've learned is Pelosi didn't do her job, and what we've learned is the federal government had a lot bigger role that day than we realized. They denied having any agents on the ground, and now it turns out there were dozens and dozens of agents, and we've all seen the videos.
In plain clothes.
In plain clothes.
And in Trump
And why
gear.
lie about it? If there was nothing nefarious, why be dishonest about it? And I wonder if the January 6th committee members knew. Did Adam Schiff know? Did Jamie Raskin, who's the most dishonest?
There you go. So what they are now doing is the real conspiracy. It's not to prevent the release of the Epstein files, even though I'm telling you on national TV, I don't know that there is a list and we're going to have to construct one from scratch. The real conspiracy is the January 6th committee, the riots, there were agents, it was entrapment, it was all stuff for which we have no evidence. How about we get the damn Epstein files? And hopefully now with the votes out of the way, we are closer to that. Who the hell knows? Another guest on Fox News, another abortive disaster. This is Scott Turner, the Secretary of Housing and Urban Development under Donald Trump. He went on Fox News and was asked by Maria Bartiromo what is actually a really good question. Sometimes the simplest questions are the best. When these right-wingers go, there's millions of illegals voting, the obvious question is, oh yeah, how do they register to vote? And if they don't, How are millions going and giving the name of a citizen, and then the citizens aren't showing up and being told, no, you were already here, someone gave your name? They never have an explanation. Maria Bartiromo, actually, I don't know that I'd call it a good job, but she stumbles across a good question here, which is Scott Turner is talking about how undocumented immigrants are getting mortgages in the United States. And Maria Bartiromo asks a great question. How does an undocumented immigrant get a mortgage? Here is his answer.
Your department is also probing how illegal immigrants have put a strain on the housing market. What can you tell us? You signed a memorandum with the DHS to end wasteful misappropriation of taxpayer money.
Absolutely.
For, quote, illegal alien exploitation of housing programs. You're also working with the Federal Housing Administration to crack down on government-backed mortgages for illegals. How do they get a mortgage if you're
Great question, Maria. Let's hear his answer.
actually illegal in the country?
Now, before he says anything, how many of you think he's going to answer the question and tell us how undocumented immigrants get a mortgage and how many don't?
Well, Maria, during the Biden administration, there were over 12 million illegal aliens that came over the border, straining our housing supply and making the costs go up. And so we worked with Secretary Noem at DHS, as you alluded to make sure that only American citizens are living in HUD-funded housing. We also took away FHA-backed mortgages from illegal aliens during the Biden administration. They turned a blind eye. But we're going to keep the law to make sure that these mortgages, which are backed by the taxpayer, go only to the American people. And lastly, we are mandating that every public housing authority give us a comprehensive account who's living in every unit.
So he said a lot there, but he didn't answer the question, how do undocumented immigrants get a mortgage? Now, let me give you the real answer. It's very similar to how do undocumented non-citizens vote in the United States. The answer is they don't. Undocumented immigrants can't get a federally backed mortgage. They can't access Fannie Mae or Freddie Mac. Banks require legal identification. Mortgage applications include a requirement for a social security number. They have citizenship and residency questions and checks. Undocumented immigrants don't qualify for the standard mortgage system. There is no program that allows undocumented immigrants to get a mortgage. Even private mortgages require ID and proof of residency. And while theoretically, you could give on a private mortgage an ID and a proof of residency without proving citizenship. Private mortgages are usually not for people who are in relatively precarious financial circumstances, as are overwhelmingly undocumented migrants. Now, there are banks that will give you something called an ITIN loan. An ITIN is a taxpayer identification number. You can be in the United States undocumented and request such a number. But those loans are legal. They're not mortgages. They're legal, regulated. They require you to file a tax return and proof of income. Interest rates are very high. People aren't using them to buy houses or like a mortgage. So this is just completely and totally made up out of thin air, which is their favorite. How are undocumented immigrants getting mortgages? Well, Maria, 12 million people came here last year illegally. Okay. And how are they getting mortgages? Well, Maria, we had a problem under Biden. Okay. And how do undocumented immigrants get mortgages? We're going to get a list of everybody living in subsidized housing. Okay. And they don't have an answer because there is no answer. One more clip from this interview. Or a couple more clips. Here is Scott Turner lying about the circumstances when Donald Trump took over.
Conversation. Tell us how you are tackling what people are calling an affordability crisis and a housing crisis.
Well, thank you, Maria. It's good to be with you. Well, first, when we came into this administration, our fiscal house was not in order. Inflation was at an all-time high. Interest rates were high. Mortgage rates were high. And so the first thing we've been doing at HUD is tackling the regulatory environment.
Okay. A lot of lies there. When Trump came in January, inflation was 2.8%. 2.8%, not a record high. Since June of 2023, inflation has bounced between 2.5% and 3%. Most of that time, Joe Biden was president. The last 10 months, Trump was president. There was no record high inflation when Trump came in. With regard to everything else he's saying, mortgage rates are down. Interest rates are down. Interest rates are down a little bit. And to a great degree, that's because of the Treasury's federal funds rate decisions. It has nothing to do with Trump, although Trump has been begging Jerome Powell to lower rates more. They just lie. There's no pushback. It's not journalism. It's propaganda. Finally, here is HUD Secretary Scott Turner saying, we don't want homeless people out on the street. Well, they have no homes. Where do you expect them to go?
No one wants homelessness on their streets.
Of course.
We definitely don't want homeless on the street, but because we care, it's compassionate, common sense to use the American taxpayer dollar, not just to warehouse homelessness, but also to treat them so they can live a life of self-sustainability.
And that's
Listen, if that was something that this administration cared about, they wouldn't have cut housing assistance by more than $8 billion. They've pushed to eliminate the Housing Trust Fund. They've tried to slash Section 8. They've blocked housing vouchers for mixed status families where you've got U.S. citizen children, but the parents are not citizens. They've gutted fair housing rules that prevent segregation, and homelessness went up every year during Trump's presidency before the pandemic. So you can't blame the pandemic on it. And now Scott Turner wants us to believe this is the party of compassion. These people are truly pathetic. Maria Bartiromo hosts them all. We looked at James Comer. Now we look at Scott Turner. And sadly, there are people falling for this crap. That's truly the tragedy here. It is easy to forget how many great family photos you have until you put them all in one place and see them. And our sponsor, Aura Frames, makes the digital frame I've been using in my house for years, and it is one of my favorite gifts to give other people. The Aura frame I gave my dad a few years ago has photos going back so long. He walks by it every day. He loves it. You can preload photos onto the frame before even gifting it, even if Aura ships it directly, and you can add a personal message as well. Then you and the recipient can keep adding photos from anywhere using the Aura app. The app is free and unlimited. You can put as many memories as you want on there. Super easy to use. No surprise, the New York Times named Aura the best digital photo frame. Every frame comes in a premium gift box. It feels like a polished, thoughtful gift. And you'll get $45 off Aura's best-selling Carver mat frames when you go to auraframes.com and use the code Pakman at checkout. It is Aura's best sale of the year. The link is in the description. A pending Supreme Court case could strip our Fourth Amendment rights and allow immigration agents to come into our homes for any reason, no probable cause needed, all while Republicans try to twist things so that you think this is all great for America. This should be the biggest story in the U.S. right now, but it's almost impossible to keep up with the millions of moves that Trump is making every single day. That's why Ground News exists. Ground News is an app and website that exposes the blind spots and spin before it takes control of our opinions. Ground News is the smarter, more reliable way to stay informed when MAGA is banking on us getting distracted. I'm partnering up with Ground News to give you 40% off the same Vantage plan that I use. So you'll pay only $5 a month for all of their premium features. Just go to ground.news/Pakman or use the code Pakman in the app when you sign up. The link is in the description, or scan the QR code. All right, let's talk about something that nobody in right-wing media wants to touch, but we all can see it with our eyes. Donald Trump melts down when challenged by a woman. And I'm going to play a new montage for you here. A dozen or more clips of Trump insulting, berating, demeaning, attacking female reporters. It's hard not to ask the obvious question. Is Trump like this because his dad didn't love him or his mom didn't love him? Oh my God, David, that's so harsh. Okay, listen, it's a little bit tongue in cheek, but this is the sort of resentment towards having his authority challenged by women that has to have some kind of root in his upbringing. And every time Trump says no one respects women more than me, he proves the opposite. So this is a montage from Ron Filipkowski. Watch it for yourself. And it's the same pattern over and over again. A woman asks a normal, serious question. Trump gets defensive. He interrupts. He insults intelligence, questions her motives, and escalates into rage, insults, and more. Remember a lot of these incidents? Some of these are recent. Some of them are longer ago.
He Will you let me finish my statement? You are the worst. You're with Bloomberg, right? You are the worst. I don't know why they even have you. Quiet.
That's the infamous quiet piggy from a few days ago.
Fake news. When you say that, darling, that's fake news.
Well, why
I
leave
don't
the
go to
Department of
war.
Defense?
Listen, be quiet. Listen. You don't listen. You never listen. That's why you're second grade.
What he did, well, you don't know much about crypto. You know nothing about nothing. You fake news. But let me
Do it now.
It's not the question that I mind. It's your attitude. I think you are a terrible reporter. It's the way you ask these questions. You start off with a man who's highly respected, asking him a horrible, insubordinate, and just a terrible question. And you could even ask that same exact question nicely. You're all psyched up. Somebody psychs you over at ABC. They're going to psych it. You're a terrible person and a terrible reporter. Oh, fake news, CNN?
Here, I'll hold it.
Oh, yeah. Here we go. Wait till you hear this question.
Thank you, sir.
You should really say how great. Who are you with?
And the same to you, Mr. President.
No, who are you with?
I'm with ABC News, sir.
You're with who?
ABC News, sir.
Fake news. ABC fake news. One of the worst in the business. But I'll answer you.
White House account to have it go out on that particular channel.
Give me a break. It was just somebody did it in fun. It's fine. Have to have a little fun, don't you?
Who are you with?
Politico, Dasha Burns, sir.
Dasha Politico. Politico's gone bad. They've been so wrong about everything. Politico. Politico has been so wrong about everything. Let's get somebody else to ask some questions. You mind? Is that all right?
As a personal gift to you, why not leave it behind?
You're ABC fake news, right?
Why not?
It's only ABC. Well, a few of you would. Let me tell you, you should be embarrassed asking that question. They're giving us a free jet. But he knew nothing about it, and we can leave it at that. You don't have to embarrass our guest by asking a question like that. Well, I haven't heard that. You're telling me. Who are you with?
I'm with NBC News, sir.
Fake news. NBC. You're fake news. What a NBC's gone down the tubes along with most of the rest. I think the license should be taken away from ABC. Because your news is so fake.
All right, listen, this goes on and on and on. I'm not going to play another 2 minutes of this. You get the point. Okay, you get the point. When men ask Trump confrontational questions, he gets snippy, but he doesn't implode. When it's a woman, he flips a switch and he goes from irritated to red-faced toddler mode in seconds. Now, I am not a psychologist. I don't think you need to be a psychologist to see something is happening here. Trump grew up with a father who showed no warmth, demanded obedience, rewarded cruelty, and Trump learned the way to feel strong is to dominate people, preferably someone he thinks he can get away with attacking. And female reporters, especially young female reporters, terrify him because they trigger in him something he can't hide. They're not impressed. They're not intimidated. They're not playing the submissive role he believes they should be playing and that he expects them to play. And so he snaps. And he says, you're stupid, you're nasty, it's fake news, terrible person, you're a horrible reporter. And he talks over them often like they don't exist. He'll lash out the moment he feels inadequate, which is basically all the time. And so I think that there's a bigger point here. This really isn't just misogyny. It's insecurity. It is fear. It's this lifelong wound that Trump is still bleeding from. And we're all suffering. I mean, listen, if you look at why are we, you might say, well, what are the political implications? So he's mean to female reporters, but maybe his tax plan is good. Okay. The way it manifests in a substantive way is that he is impressed by dictators, probably because of something very integral to who he is in his upbringing. He's not impressed. He's certainly not impressed by the female leaders of democratic nations, that we know. He doesn't seem impressed by the leaders, male leaders of democratic nations either. You know, we're not particularly close to Canada anymore. He doesn't seem particularly impressed by the French president, although I think, you know, he sees the French president maybe as better looking and in better shape, which is intimidating to Trump. But that's a reason why he doesn't like it. What Trump really loves is those who rule with an iron fist. And it seems to be part of the same complex here. A grown man who was loved and supported as a child just doesn't react to women this way. Look at former President Barack Obama, who we know about his upbringing. A confident man doesn't implode and insult women because he's asked a basic policy question, and a stable man would never need to humiliate women to feel big himself. So it might sound like a joke. Did Trump's daddy not love him enough? It's really not a joke, and it is having geopolitical consequences. Marjorie Taylor Greene this week really hit Donald Trump where it hurts. And we now see Trump and MAGA ripping apart. It's over the Epstein files. It's over a number of different things. This is a clip we didn't play earlier in the week. Here's Marjorie Taylor Greene accusing Trump of destroying the movement. This is more than just Marjorie and Donald's relationship. This is about the movement.
Congresswoman Greene, you raised the question of whether or not the Justice Department will actually release these files. Do you take the president at his word when he says he's going to sign this bill, and do you have confidence that these files will actually be released?
I only take people's actions seriously, no longer words.
And what do you think the president's actions?
And I'll tell you, because I wasn't a Johnny-come-lately to the MAGA train. I was day one 2015, and there's a big difference in those Americans and those that decided to support President Trump later on. And I'll tell you right now, this has been one of the most destructive things to MAGA is watching the man that we supported early on, 3 elections, for people that stood hours, slept in their cars to go to rallies, have fought for truth and transparency and to hold what we consider a corrupt government accountable. Watching this actually turn into a fight has ripped MAGA apart. And the only thing that will speak to the powerful, courageous women behind me is when action is actually taken to release these files, and the American people won't tolerate any other bullshit. That's where we are today.
The catalyst for this with Marjorie Taylor Greene is because of the Epstein files. There's no doubt about that. That was the kind of thing that set all of this off. But there are reasons this matters, which go way beyond the Epstein files. This is really one of the first times that someone from inside of MAGA, deep inside of MAGA, I mean, like you said, she was an early MAGA supporter, is attacking Trump in a way that actually hits a nerve. Policy doesn't really bother him. Being called incompetent might bother him. Criminal indictments don't seem to bother him. The whole Epstein thing is like a soft spot. It's the storyline where Trump gets shaky and defensive and frantic because he knows it's radioactive. And now you have one of the loudest MAGA celebrities saying Trump is tearing the movement apart to keep the documents sealed. Think about that. She, Marjorie Taylor Greene, is admitting the whole project, the MAGA project, is crumbling down to its core, not because the Democrats or the deep state or whatever imaginary conspiracy theory they're yelling about this week, but because Trump is terrified of what these files might have. These people have spent years pretending that they will expose the elites, they will take down predators, they will protect kids, all of that crap. But Trump is now, he's given up the fight, but what set him and Marjorie Taylor Greene at odds is that he was fighting to keep the files sealed. And Marjorie Taylor Greene has been saying out loud, why would you do that? That is not what this movement supposedly was about. This has the potential to be the type of fracture that doesn't heal. You've got a movement built around loyalty, and suddenly one of its major figures is saying, I'm no longer loyal. And it's turning that back on Donald Trump and is saying, you are the one destroying the movement. The timing isn't great for Trump because his polls are falling. The administration's imploding. Allies are panicking, and now he's taking fire from inside the bunker. So my expectation, I don't know what's going to happen now with the votes on Epstein done. If Marjorie Taylor Greene keeps talking like this, Trump will have to decide. Does he continue attacking her the way he started to and make the Civil War even worse? Does he ignore her to some degree? Does he say, no, we're on the same page. We're both all about the Epstein files, but is there credibility left if that's what Trump's tried to do? So as we look back over the last decade, MAGA has survived scandals. They have. They've survived indictments and convictions. They've survived coup attempts, 4 years of public humiliation. They've never really had an internal revolt over something the base seems to care about. Now, the reasons they care about it, okay. But the Epstein files, seems unspinnable for the MAGA propaganda machine. I think Marjorie Taylor Greene knows it's not going away. She lit a match. Trump is trying to put it out by saying, yes, I'm for releasing the files too, but I don't know that this ends here. Let me know what you think. What is the future of this intra-MAGA civil war? Every time you Google your name, you will probably find dozens of sites that expose your personal information. This can include phone number, home address, family details. It's just sitting there waiting to be scraped or abused. Incogni is a privacy service. They go after these sites on your behalf. They contact the data brokers. They demand your data be removed, which the brokers are legally required to do. Incogni will automatically remove your information from hundreds of the biggest and most notorious data broker sites, but you're not just limited to those. You can use Incogni's custom removal if you find your info on a website outside of Incogni's default list. The team at Incogni will work to get that information removed. This is how you protect yourself and your family from identity theft, financial scams, harassment, even AI-powered profiling by ad companies. And Incogni's data removal process is the only one verified independently by Deloitte. This gives them a unique level of credibility. Try Incogni risk-free and get 60% off when you go to incogni.com/Pakman and use the code Pakman. The link is in the description. Donald Trump ranted and raved incoherently, at some points stunning his crowd into complete and total silence. I'm sort of getting the sense that he can't really do it anymore. Like, I don't think Trump thinks it's going to go this badly when he shows up for these speeches. Trump talking about other people's mental problems. I know. Speaking about Fed Chairman Jerome Powell saying he's got mental problems. There's something wrong with the guy. Let me tell you a little bit more about that in a moment, though, because it says a lot about the truth of the economy versus Trump's claims about the economy. I'll explain. Give me 1 second. Let's listen.
Mortgage rates are down despite the Fed. I mean, Scott, you got to work in this guy. He's got some real mental problems. No, there's something wrong with him. It's just sweet. I'd be honest. I'd love to fire his ass. He should be fired. Guy's grossly incompetent. And he should be sued for spending $4 billion to build a little building. I'm building a ballroom that's going to cost a tiny fraction of that, and it's bigger than the whole thing put together. You got to work on him, Scott. The only thing Scott's blowing it on is the Fed. Because the Fed, the rates are too high, Scott. And if you don't get it fixed fast, I'm going to fire your ass, okay?
Listen, we're all joking, but Trump says Jerome Powell has a mental problem because he won't lower interest rates. It's really important for people to understand this. Trump is claiming that the economy is awesome while demanding something of the Fed that you would only do if the economy were not awesome. What do I mean by that? Trump is asking for federal funds rate reductions, one after another after another. At one point, he said he wants the federal funds rate down 3 whole points, 4 whole points. You don't do that unless you're worried the economy needs rescuing. And so Trump, on the one hand, says everything is phenomenal since he came in. And on the other hand, says that it's indicative of a mental problem that Jerome Powell hasn't lowered the federal funds rate the way that Donald Trump has been demanding. It's so good out there that Trump needs emergency rate cuts. Give me a break. Trump talking about the Board of Peace chaired by Donald Trump. Another one of these things where he doesn't have to be doing any of this, but it's hard to find better people than Trump to do things. And the crowd is like, what the hell?
Have any problems, but right now it's looking very good and endorsed. They endorsed the United Nations, what's called the Board of Peace, chaired by a person called Donald J. Trump. I accepted the chairmanship. They asked me to be chairman. That's what I needed. It's just a little more work. But it's a great honor. That'll be the greatest board ever assembled. Where do you see this board? This board will blow every board away. And I believe we're going to be lucky enough to have the Crown Prince be a very distinguished member of the board.
And there it is. The glazing of the dictatorial, human rights denying Crown Prince of Saudi Arabia, the honored guest for Trump. This was the U.S.-Saudi Investment Forum. Understand, these events are completely fabricated. Every event is fabricated in a sense, but what I mean is this is all a show. So Donald Trump can just sort of profess his undying devotion to yet another autocrat. This time it's Mohammed bin Salman. Trump lying and saying we have more jobs than ever in the United States. We learned from the Biden administration. You can't just tell people everything's awesome. If they don't feel it, they're not going to believe it.
America, and I view it differently. I used to view it as it's great, great, great. The stock goes up. I view it, everything as jobs now because I don't care. I care about jobs. And we have more jobs. It was just announced. We have more jobs right now than we've ever had in the history of our country. Those are big numbers. It's like crazy. It's just a great stat. More jobs today than we've ever had in the history of our country. And
happens not to be true. And in fact, the number of layoffs happening, over 1 million people have been laid off this year. It's not a great jobs record at this point in time. It's okay. But Trump promised us it would be awesome. Trump promised us it would be growth. Trump promised us it would be the apple of the world's eye, or whatever. But it's just not happening. Trump attacking woke in a way that, to me, doesn't really sound like free speech. You tell me.
And you have to do all woke. You'll be back into the woke business. We don't have woke anymore in this country. It's virtually illegal. But you'll have a couple of wokesters. And we don't want to do that.
Woke is virtually illegal. That certainly sounds like a government restriction on speech to me. It certainly sounds like governments telling private businesses what they can and can't do. I thought they were the party of free speech. Well, even Americans overall don't believe that anymore, based on the polling we looked at earlier. Trump playing the Walmart game. I won't even explain it to you. I know most of my audience at this point knows what the Walmart game is.
Core inflation is now below 2.7%. It was at numbers that nobody had ever seen before with them. Walmart just announced that the cost of their standard Thanksgiving meal is reduced by 25% this year from last year. So they make, look, the Democrats, I don't know, some of you are probably liberal Democrats. I don't know about in your country. I don't know if you know that word, liberal. The word liberal doesn't exist. But they have a new word now. You can't use liberal. You have to use the word pro.
Okay. The Walmart game. Walmart cut a bunch of items from its Thanksgiving meal package and replaced a bunch of items with cheaper store brand products. That's why the price came down 25%. It's sort of like if I say to you, hey, the price of Skittles came down, and I show you one of the tiny little, like 90 calorie or whatever Skittles things. And you would go, wait a second, the price came down, but it's fewer Skittles, right? That's exactly what Walmart did. And I have to say, what a big win for the Walmart marketing team. Because while it is not true that the Walmart Thanksgiving meal is actually less expensive, like it's less, it costs less, but it has less stuff and lower quality stuff. They have Trump out there and everybody around Trump repeating over and over again, the Walmart Thanksgiving meal, it's cheap. Customers go, they buy it. It actually is based completely on deception. And then finally, Trump really sucking up to the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman, referring to him as the most distinguished gentleman and my friend. He's my friend.
All over the world. But now we have people that are respected at levels that we've never seen before. So I just want to tell you that this is a group that I respect. I read every single name of every single person sitting in each and every seat. And I either know you or I know of you. This is an amazing group of people. And it really is headed by that gentleman sitting right smack center with 2 seats in between him. He wants plenty of room. And he's going to be the king of Saudi Arabia right now. He's the most distinguished gentleman. He's my friend.
He's my friend.
Thank you very much for what you've done for us, and we will always be with you. Thank you, Mohammed. I appreciate it. Thank you, everybody. Thank you very much. Thank you.
The President of the United States visibly gushing over one of the worst human rights denying autocrats in 2025 around the world. That is the state of the United States as we approach the end of 2025. Sad state of affairs. We've got to do something about it. Caroline Leavitt gave what might be the dumbest interview I've ever seen her give. She was interviewed by a woman with a British accent, which I know might make you think Caroline sounds smarter during this interview, but she doesn't. I never thought Caroline would say this sort of stuff, but she is still going with the Epstein thing is a hoax. Now, I know we've talked about this before. What is the hoax? Is the hoax that Trump did anything wrong? Is the hoax that Trump covered it up? Is the hoax that Epstein didn't really do anything? What do you mean by it's a hoax? Let's see if Caroline tells us.
The latest big drama for them is the Epstein, the latest on the Epstein stuff. And you rebutted that immediately, saying it's another hoax, blah, blah. How is that playing out? And do you think that it's going to take a lot of your time going forward?
Well, we certainly hope not, because I think the president is wanting very much to focus on the issues that he was elected to solve, like affordability and rising prices and
none of which he's solving, by the way.
You know, our border, we're continuing to do great work there. The trade deals, again, everything that's going on overseas. And that is what he's focused on. But if you look at how this Epstein story sort of evolved over the past week, it's classic Washington hoax.
Yes. The latest.
And what exactly does that mean? Which is they only when pressed will they say something like, no, the hoax is the timing used to take attention off of Trump's victories and the failures of Democrats who shut down the government. But so hold on, when you say hoax, do you just mean that it's a distraction? Did Jeffrey Epstein not do the things he's accused of doing? Are the people mentioned in the emails and the files and the documents, is it all planned decades in advance so that it could be unleashed in November of 2025? What do you mean it's a hoax? And then when you push them, they just go, well, no, it's like, it's a hoax that this is even a story. Really? Wow. Leavitt is willing to say very dishonest things while claiming to be a child of Jesus with the big cross and the whole religious persona. The host asks Caroline Leavitt about Trump spraying the Syrian president with perfume. And correct me if I'm wrong, I think Caroline Leavitt says, oh, this happens all the time. Trump sprays everybody.
The president went, the Syrian president came in and President Trump sprayed perfume all over him. And I just wondered, like, did he smell?
No. Let me tell you, that happens all the time, not just with the Syrian president, but I've seen it with other foreign leaders. I've seen it with members of our cabinet, myself. He has a cologne and a perfume. Yes. He's just showing off his wonderful scents. He's very generous.
Guys, this is just strange. This is, to quote George W. Bush, this is some really weird shit. And now we are pretending that it's normal that the president of the United States walks around the White House spraying people with perfume. What? We're supposed to pretend that that's normal. And then finally, this was a really weird way to ask the question. I don't know how many of you know this. I, quite frankly, couldn't care less about Caroline Leavitt's personal life beyond whether it is a contradiction to her publicly stated beliefs. That I think is relevant, but her husband is a lot older than her, and the host asks about it, but kind of in a really weird way.
Tell us about your husband.
Sure.
And how you met, and also the fact he's, I think, 32 years older than you, which is unusual. But
it is.
But you're a very mature person, so probably, could you not find boys your own age who were as mature? Or,
honestly, no.
Yeah. Caroline Leavitt just couldn't find boys as mature as her. And that's how she ended up with a guy 32 years older than her. Honestly, I don't care who she's married to. My only problem is her spouse bothered by how she is the public face of dishonesty? I don't care if the guy is 18 or 88. I don't care if the guy's Christian, atheist, Muslim, Jewish, what. I don't care if it's a guy. I don't care if it's a woman. Are they humiliated by being married to one of the most brazenly and pathetically dishonest purveyors of government propaganda that there has been for a long time? I would be embarrassed. I'll admit that. We have a phenomenal bonus show for you today. Make sure you've liked today's podcast or rated it on Spotify and Apple. Make sure you've signed up at joinpakman.com. Make sure you've just hit the subscribe button on YouTube as we push to 3.5 million subscribers. I will see you on the bonus show, and then we will be back tomorrow.